All right, today we're going to talk about percent problems. We're going to use proportions the entire day, and we're calling them is over of. And you'll kind of see with all the word problems why we call these is over of problems. And then this picture that you see on this front slide is really important to how you set them up. Basically, this is how you're going to set up every problem that you do today. All right. So going down to fluency, it's also important that we know how to change a fraction to a percent in the necessary steps. So step number one of changing a fraction to a percent is change the fraction to a decimal. Step number two, change the decimal by moving it 2 places to the right. Then you have your percent, so you're going to take your percent and you are going to round to the nearest tenth. And then you're going to drop all other numbers. So change the fraction to a decimal, change the decimal by moving it 2 places to the right. You're going to have a percent then and round to the nearest tenth and drop all the numbers. This should sound like what you did yesterday in class. All right, the Indianapolis Repertory Theater Company sold 9 out of 10 performances that it held. Clinton Shakespeare Company sold 39% of its performances it put on. Which theater company sold out the greater percentage? So we're looking to compare the 39% and the 9 out of 26. So this means you're going to have to take the 9 out of 26, change it into that decimal. When you do the division, you should have gotten 0.34615, and that decimal keeps going on. So this is where we keep moving the decimal. We get 34.615. And then we round to the tenths place. So that 1 keeps the 6 the same, so it's 34.6%. When I compare which theater sold out greater percentage, 39%, and you would need to note that as the Clinton Shakespeare Company in the final answer to your problem. All right, so here are problems for today. So like I said, you're really going to want to pay attention to this proportion setup. And it seems like everybody did really well in the proportions test, so this should help you really be able to solve these. So use a proportion to solve. What percent of, and we're going to highlight of 80, and then we're going to highlight is 64. So when you look at that picture, is over of equals percent over 100. We're looking for the percent. So the is number is the number that follows the word is. So we're going to put 64 on top. The of number is the number that follows the word of. So we put 80 on bottom. And then the proportion picture shows equals percent over 100. Well, I don't know the percent. That's exactly what the question's asking me to find. So I'm going to call that x over 100. Then I'm going to cross multiply. So 80x equals 6,400. And I'm going to divide by 80 on both sides. So when you take 6,400 in your calculator divided by 80, you get 80. X is equal to 80%, and that's your answer. In the next one, a little different. It's asking us to find 3% of 200. So this time they haven't given us an is number. So the is number on the left is going to be our x. The of number is of 200, so that goes on the bottom left. And then it gives us the percent, 3% out of 3%. So we know that 3% is out of 100. So we put 3 on top, 100 on the bottom, and then we do the same process. We cross multiply. So we get 300, 100x equals, and then 200 times 3 is 600. We divide by 100 on both sides, and x is equal to 6. And because we're finding the is number, the number is just 6, not 6%. We already knew the percent was 3. Next set of problems. 18% of what number, so we're looking for the of number, is 27. So again, we're still referring to this picture up top. The is number is 27. We're looking for the of number, so that's our x, equals 18 over 100, because that 18% comes out of 100. Then I cross multiply, and I get 18x equals 2700. I divide by 18 on both sides, and I get x is equal to, and I have 2700 divided by 18, and I get 150. And since I'm looking for a number, I just leave the number, no percent sign necessary. So this next one, you're going to kind of notice that I've been talking about how the number comes after is or after of. When you read through this one, 85 is what percent of 200? So I can automatically see the of 200, and I'm looking for what percent, because that's the question. This one's just a little different. The is with the 85. It just happens to be that the 85 comes before the is. So I know my is number is 85. I know my of number is 200 there at the end of the question, and it's asking me to find the percent. So the percent is x over 100. And then I cross multiply. I get 200x is equal to 8,500. I divide by 200 on both sides of the equation. So again, we've done proportions, we're doing equations, stemming back 2 chapters, and I get a decimal percent. I get x is equal to 42.5%. And everything can stay as a percent to the tenths place, so you don't need to do any rounding there. 42.5% is fine. Right, so I want you to try these two with maybe someone you're sitting next to, and I also want you to try the next. So do 4 problems, pause this video, and then come back and I'll run through the answers with you. All right, so hopefully you've done these with a partner and you are ready to listen to answers. So I have 12 is 75%, and then I have of what number. So I'm looking for my of number. So I have the is, I'm looking for the of, and I know the percentage is 75 over 100. When I cross multiply, I get 75x equals 1200. I divide by 75 on both sides, and that tells me that 1200 divided by 75 is equal to 16. And I'm looking for a number, so that's my final answer. In the next one, I have what number is, and then it tells me my percent, and it tells me my of number. So my is my x, my of is 12. I put 80 over 100. Hopefully you're starting to see the patterns here. 100 times x when I cross multiply, and 12 times 80. Sorry, calculator problem, is 960. Divide by 100 on both sides, and x is equal to 9.6. And I was looking for a number. So some of you might be asking, how do I know when I put a percent sign on my answer? Well, if the percent is given in the problem, you don't need a percent answer. You're looking for a number answer. If the percent is x over 100, that's when you know to put a percent sign on your answer, on your final answer, like a label. So for instance, what percent, and then we have of 126 is 22. So I have the is as 22, always goes on top. 126 is the of, so it always goes on bottom, and then my percent is x over 100 because I don't know the percentage. I get 126x equals 2200. I divide by 126 on both sides, and I get a really long, crazy decimal, 17.4603. Remember, we have to round to the tenths, so that's actually going to round up to 17.5%. And if you get one like that and you're like, I'm not sure I typed that in right, just type it back in your calculator. Make sure you get that same decimal, which I did. This next one, 30% of 117 is what number? So I have my of, so I'm missing the is, and I have 30 over 100. I get 100x is equal to 117 minus 30, or times 30 is 3,510. I divide by 100 on both sides, and I get x is equal to 35.1. No percent sign needed. All right, so we're going to stop there. Hopefully you've seen enough examples. They're all pretty the same. You just really have to rely on the setup. So kind of going back to the top of your notes, this picture is the key to how you solve all is over of problems.